Thank you all. Bill, you're going to be great, by the way. Thank you. Thank you. I gotta hire. Grab a seat, Ray. Enjoy yourself. Ray forgot a few things to say about me, so he wants to come back up and speak a little bit more about me. I'm going to ask Ray to follow me around the state and introduce me at all my events. But Ray, seriously, you've done it. You're a dear friend. You're a great mayor, and you've done a great job as the president of this extraordinary organization. Let's hear it one more time for your president. Congratulations, buddy. Really, and as I got to know Ray over the years, we've known each other since it was cold, dark, and lonely for me. And you look at Ray's resume, you look at his experience, police, fire, emergency management coordinator, mayor. You feel like in his town when you call 911, Ray's going to answer the phone. So hats off to you, buddy. To Executive Director and another dear friend, Mike Serra. Let's hear it from Mike. Great job, buddy. To you and Lori, every single year you've done a spectacular job, and you managed, I appreciate what you said, Ray, about my managing us through COVID, but organizations like this had to manage themselves through COVID, and you all did a fantastic job. It's an iconic, Egginton tells me that the Walk to Washington's coming back in February of 25. I think of that in the league as sort of the two iconic tent poles where we all come together and do something that only New Jersey does. So Mike, Lori, and the rest of the team, hats off to you. And Bill, who's another good guy and a mayor of over 20 years, you're going to be great. Incoming president, I think you get the gavel this afternoon. So Ray unburdens himself with the gavel and hands it to you, and you're the mayor of Wharton, Bill, and you're going to be a great leader of this organization. And I wish you nothing but the very best. Just general acknowledgement to all the elected officials and dignitaries out there. It's an honor to be here. This is something I look forward to every single year. Tammy and I got down here yesterday afternoon, and I think Peg was with me for one of them. We did 9 hits last night, and we ended up dancing in the lobby of the Hard Rock, making a complete fool of myself, I might add. Staying up much too late, and as usual, having just gone to Raz Baraka's event as the last stop, I've lost my voice as I do as an annual matter. Find me a better town crier than Rich Lalina. Rich, love you, buddy. So impressive. Ernie, thank you for being such a gracious host. Give Marty a hug for us. And I love the comment you made, and Marty has made it as well. It's the folks who are serving our food, who are behind the bar. I'm a Murphy, I noticed them. The folks who are making your beds, housekeeping the rooms, they are the backbone. They are the heart and soul of this great community, and a big shout out to them. I want to... Tim McDonough, who works for the New York Jets, and I think it's 50-50. Tim actually may play quarterback on Sunday against the Bills. Good luck, Tim. But thank you, buddy, for acknowledging, not just helping out with Lori, who I'll come back to in a second, but and to our Walmart friends. I think this mental wellness and youth mental health initiative is a huge deal. I just stepped down as chair of the National Governors Association, and as Walmart knows, because they were big supporters, youth mental health was the initiative that I chose to carry the flag on. Tammy, as First Lady, carried it on infant and maternal health, and there's no state in America that does what we're doing on infant and maternal health. And I just think the acknowledgement of the communities that you supported and to all the communities that won, I take my hat off to you. We've got representatives of our administration. To Tammy's left is Jacqueline Suarez, who is the acting Department of Community Affairs Commissioner, and stepping into the big shoes left tragically and sadly by Sheila Oliver. More on Sheila in a minute. And then to her left is Sean LaTourette, the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. I thank both of them, but I want to give a particular shout out to my colleague Lori Duran for the award she just received. It is public knowledge, as was discussed. I hope you didn't break news on this on Lori. I don't think you did. That Lori's a 30-plus year veteran of the CIA, but so was her husband, and they both worked with me when I was the ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany. So Lori and Team Duran and I go way back. I also want to give acknowledgement to these three rock stars on stage left in the first row. Congratulations on the Women in Government honoree, because it's richly deserved. And then finally, of course, I've got written remarks, but I don't need them. I want to acknowledge the spirit and the souls in both Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver and the President of the Board of Public Utilities, Joe Fiordaliso. Two extraordinary public servants, two Newark kids, by the way, who grew up in Newark. It's a community that never left them. Sheila did literally every job you can do in government, as Ray quite rightfully pointed out. Joe was, frankly, a version of that as well, not only an extraordinary president of the Board of Public Utilities, but I think Joe Jr. said it right. The job, his life job, was mayor of Livingston, which is, I think, poignant given that we're gathered here at the League. They're two crushing losses for our state, for our administration, and for Tammy and me, and so many of you personally. And Charles Sr. and Charles Jr., I can't tell you how honored I am that you guys are here. Please, Charles, give Mom a hug for me. Tell her Tammy and I are going to come by, and you'll be able to answer her questions sooner than later in the affirmative, that they're on the way. And Joe Jr., love you, buddy, and to your mom and your sister, and God bless you guys as well. Let's hear it one more time for Sheila Oliver and Joe Fiordaliso. God bless them both. So, acknowledging right up front that as municipal leaders, and Ray, you were very gracious toward me, but in a very specific way, Sheila's and Joe's legacies not just live on through their families and through Tammy and me and our administration and the communities and people they touch, but quite poignantly, their legacy also lives on in each and every one of you. All of you who work, whether you're a mayor, a council member, or other positions, you move to chip away at the challenges that face millions of our neighbors. And the fact is, as municipal leaders, you stand on the front lines of public service. Ray mentioned this when an event happens, a disaster strikes like a flood or a forest fire or a major traffic accident, to name a few. You folks are the ones that get that first call. And whenever our residents have complaints or concerns, I know even in New Jersey they have complaints, you are also among the very first to provide them with an open ear and an open mind. So in many ways, you understand the challenges our neighbors are grappling with better, frankly, than anyone. And like me, I know you have heard time and again that there's one challenge that's a perennial, that remains at the top of the list for so many of our families, and I guarantee you, of our administration, and that is affordability. In our post-COVID reality, everyone is feeling the financial squeeze. Whether you're a taxpayer, a business owner, you're a worker, you rent, you own, you name it. And there's sort of two gaps right now that I'm sensing. One is at the very macro high level, the U.S. economy looks to be in very good shape. It looks like we're going to avoid the hard landing that we were all fearful about. But tell that to somebody who's in a grocery store or in a gas station, and they think of where they were pre-COVID, and they're not feeling that great feeling up there. That's typical. I'm an optimist. I believe that gap closes. It's a lead-lag factor. But that's exactly what I think we're living through. What it feels in that grocery store or gas station today, I think will feel meaningfully differently in 6 to 12 months, in a positive sense, I might add. But there's no denying that that's the case today. So this, again, it stares us in the face all around us. And as mayors and municipal leaders, you have, on that one in particular, I think, a rare vantage point into understanding how those rising costs can impact communities. If there's pain, you see it firsthand. which means you also have a keen insight into how we can help alleviate that pain. And that's frankly one of the many reasons why this conference is so important. It's an annual opportunity for all of us, and particularly for mayors and council, to come together and to learn from one another and hopefully identify new solutions to help our families get by. And of course, when it comes to affordability, it's important to note that there are factors that are both in our control and out of our control. I'm a recovering banker, among other things, and they teach you in markets there's systematic risk and there's unsystematic risk. Systematic risk is largely the stuff that's beyond your control. That's the market sentiment. It's right now a war in Europe, a war in the Middle East. It's what the Federal Reserve is doing. It's interest rates. Can we, all of us collectively, me personally, can we influence any of that? Maybe at the edges, but I also acknowledge that we'd probably be wasting a lot of our time and energies by focusing on something that we can only influence at the edges. Unsystematic risk is the stuff you and I can actually move the needle on. And so that's what we are obsessed with in our administration, and I know that's what you're obsessed with in your various communities. What can I do? What can we do together to meaningfully move a needle, whether it's affordability, public safety, economic development, whatever it might be. And so what we do, we spend our administration 110% of our time while acknowledging the stuff that's beyond our control and praying that things get better. We're obsessed with where we are today versus where were we when I first put my hand on the Bible almost 6 years ago. And I think even more importantly, where are we today compared to other American states, particularly the ones that we compete with? Remember, every state's got a bumper sticker. Ours is the #1 state in America to raise a family. That's New Jersey. But as I say, what we can change beyond the stuff that's outside of our sphere of control, what we do have control over as leaders and as lawmakers is how we decide to help our neighbors weather these storms. What are we going to do literally for your next door neighbor? And that's an area, I have to say, in which all of your insights and your partnership has been absolutely indispensable in our now almost 6 years. Because together, during periods of unprecedented uncertainty on a worldwide scale, such as we're living through right now, we have made significant progress in making life, among other things, more affordable for our state's residents, whether that's bringing down the cost of living for working families or making it easier for small business owners to stay in business, or whether it's creating new good-paying job opportunities for our state's workers. I recently came across, on that second one, on small businesses, I recently came across a data point that speaks to our collective work. Again, over the past now almost 6 years, and even in the face of all of the disruptions that I mentioned, our small business community has grown at a remarkable rate. Since we came into office, which is again January of 18, just under 6 years, we've seen more than 60,000 new small businesses open their doors. That means that today we have more small businesses than we have ever had before, and we lead quite handily our peer states in the Northeast of the country, and we're among the leaders of any states in terms of small business creation. And at the same time, and again, I'm not going to run the risk of tearing my rotator cuff by patting myself on the back. We have a long way to go on everything. We've been on a journey for almost 6 years now. I'm proud of the progress we've made, but we ain't done. Let me just say that categorically. But at the same time that we've seen this enormous growth in small businesses, we have also secured, and this is not easy, new rights and benefits for our state workers. Higher minimum wage, expanded family leave, paid sick days, to mention just 3. So, in short, I think we've managed to strike the right balance between, on the one hand, defending and supporting the rights of our workforce and our working families, while at the same time cultivating a more business-friendly environment in New Jersey. In other words, we have been largely what we said we would be: stronger and fairer, not just one at the expense of the other. And a few months, don't take my word for it only, a few months ago, CNBC ranked us both as the most improved business environment state in America and in the top 3 states in America to live and work. Doing one of those things is pretty cool. Doing both, I think, is a big deal, and we did that. Now, again, I got to get my hand off my back here, which I don't want to give that impression. And as I mentioned a minute ago, we don't think in any way, shape, or form we are near the finish line. But that being said, I think I'd stack our record up against any other state in the country. We just did a big trade mission to East Asia. We were in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Tammy and Peg and others, and some of you out there were with us. First of all, Jersey plays really well internationally. We are viewed to be one of the more international states and international friendly states in America, which is a cool thing. And so one of the things we did a chart, and we ranked, 20 or 22 states that we most often compete against for jobs, for investment, for where families are going to live. And then we ranked objective metrics that are done by third-party entities. And we ranked the ones that we think are the ones that are most on the lips of a boardroom discussion or a family kitchen table discussion about where you either want to put a business or raise a family. And we were in the top 10 in every single one of them. And we were number 1 in a bunch, including the number 1 public education system in America. So that's what I mentioned a few minutes ago, comparing not just sort of where we were versus where we are now, but in the heat of the moment, where are we up against states that we're competing with? And we come across very well. Now, there's one area that I know collectively, we talked about affordability generally, but let's get down to the brass tacks. The one big one that we do have a big hand in, you and me together, is property taxes. And just weeks ago, in October, for the second year in a row, we provided direct property tax relief to more than 1 million New Jersey, either homeowners or renters. Now, those are households. Those are households, so that probably represents 4 to 5 million New Jerseyans. And depending on how much money you make, and again, we means test almost every incentive we have. So if you make, for instance, the Community College Opportunity Grant, if you make under $100,000, it's a last dollar program. You're going to community college free of charge. Just as in property taxes, if you make under $250,000, or even better yet, under $150,000, that's where the big juice is. And we've knocked, through that anchor program, we've knocked property taxes back to levels, if you're in those income categories and you either own a home or you rent, which is a new wrinkle, you're going back to property tax levels in around a decade or more ago. And if you're a senior, we juiced the support even more this year. And then in a couple of years, we'll have the Stay NJ program, which will boost seniors when it gets into place by reducing their property taxes by as much as 50%, which is a huge deal. And we're in this together. So I also want to, switching gears, over the past couple of years, we've put about $225 million in a municipal relief fund, which I know is a big deal for you folks out there. And that investment has directly supported your communities so you can provide more and better public service to your residents without having to jack up your property taxes. We've also made 3 consecutive full, for the first time in over a generation, pension payments, and I'll be damned if we're not going to do it again next year. And you all, again, know this, particularly in a state like ours where 53% of your property tax bill on average is public education. We have been at record state level of investment in public ed for each one of the 6 years we've been in here, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And again, if we're paying that much, all-time record, that's money that you don't have to find in your local communities. And that, to me, is a win-win-win. And I also think not just forget what we've done for a minute, I think we're also continuing to keep our ears open and pursue new ways to make the state more affordable. And a big piece of that, I mentioned a few minutes ago, is doing everything we can to support our family-owned businesses, overwhelmingly small businesses, and to revitalize our downtowns, both of which were battered by the pandemic. So to help our communities get back on their feet, our administration has, I would say, I'd use the word vigorously, supported a number of initiatives through the New Jersey Economic Development Authority under the great leadership of Tim Sullivan. And Ernie, I was thrilled earlier this week when we announced we finally had at least a bridge to address the food desert here in Atlantic City, thanks to the EDA, which was so desperately needed. But the EDA has put on the street, since the beginning of the pandemic, over $1 billion for small businesses. Only California and New York, which are a lot bigger than we are, have put more money to work. Things like the Main Street Recovery Fund. Or back in August, we unveiled right here in Atlantic City the Boardwalk Preservation Fund, which is $100 million to support our shore communities and to invest in those wooden main streets that are so incredibly important to these shore towns. And while all of these investments and programs benefit our communities in different ways, the fact is that each one of them are centered around the same broader economic strategy. And that's simply making life more affordable for working families by rebuilding the three legs of the stool that have always buttressed New Jersey's success. One of them is to grow the economy. When we got here, I think we inherited a state that had a static, if I succeed, it's at your expense sort of economy. We have to break out of that. We have to get to a better, larger space in terms of our economic growth. So grow the economy, address the awful inequities, particularly those that are so pronounced across racial lines, and whether it's infant maternal mortality, where we were at the almost bottom of the American list, or the racial gaps in our criminal justice system, where we were at the bottom of the list, shamefully. We're addressing those inequities. And then lastly, once again, be the state that people look up to, that's responsible, a state that can be trusted. I remember, I wasn't even living here at this point, New Jersey was always the first two words on somebody's lips when someone elsewhere in this country had a policy challenge or an approach challenge they weren't sure how to handle. It was inevitably, let's see what they're doing in New Jersey, a AAA bond-rated state at the time. So we are slowly crawling back. I'm not sure we'll be a AAA bond-rated state again. In fact, America's not AAA rated at this point. But we are one step in front of the other. Those are the three legs of the stool. Grow the economy, shrink inequities, be responsible once again. And we're going to, I promise you, for the next 2+ years that we've got left in our time here, I promise you we're going to run through the tape. And even in the face of what I think continues to be, not just I mentioned cost of living in the grocery store or the gas station, but this is, I think, increasingly a softening economy. Even in the face of that, we're going to continue to look for new wins, new ideas. Again, it's one of the main reasons we have the relationship we have. And I think Bill and Ray would say on both sides of the aisle, we're all in this together. We're all, if you're a mayor or the governor, we're chief executive. At the end of the day, the buck stops with you. The buck stops with me. The more we can share ideas, the better off we will all be. And I promise you. I'm not going to rant on liquor license reform. I appreciate Ray raising it. I think it'll be transformational for our main streets, and we have to do it in a thoughtful way. And I look forward to working with, and they're here in spirit only, Senate President Nick Scuteri and Speaker, who had to jump out and, by the way, walk a picket line, I might add, to you union brothers and sisters, Speaker Craig Coughlin. I look forward to working with them on doing this the right way, unleashing access for the folks who don't have it, and also acknowledging there's been a lot of investment, maybe in some cases for decades, for folks who do have them, and we want to do that right. I also know that you all, I think Mike hosted a dialogue on the state plan in this conference. That's something we're going to take very seriously, I promise you. That's another example of why we've been on a pedestal back in the good old days as a state. We were viewed, Governor Kane, I think, was one of the big proponents of that. We were viewed as a state that not only worked well, but knew where it was going in a very thoughtful way. And we want to get back to that, I promise you. I also want to give a shout out to two guys here today, not only Jacqueline Suarez in her DCA capacity, but also Nick Platt and Jordan Glatter with us. Do you guys mind? I know Nick's here. I think Jordan had to leave. Nick, stand up and take a bow, buddy. He's sitting beside the one and only Claire Todd. So Claire and Nick and Jordan work on the shared services front. And it's nj.gov/DCA, I believe, is where you go to find out more of their work. We have, and they've been extraordinary. Again, one Republican, one Democrat. Ideology does not matter to them one bit. The whole objective here is to find ways to help you share services and save money for your taxpayers, and they've done a remarkable job. And I think your two programs are open for business in terms of applications, the so-called LEAP program, which is Local Efficiency Achievement Program, and the School Regionalization Efficiency Program. And I think both can be accessed, Jacqueline, through your, again, nj.gov/DCA. If you haven't accessed them, trust me, it is worth it. Even if you end up not being able to get something done, you're going to learn a ton by doing it. So hats off to that. I could go on, I won't. It's an incredible honor for Tammy and me to be here. Your predecessors, Ray and Bill, have always remarked, I can't believe you, A, showed up, and B, you stayed for the whole lunch. Every year, people tell me that. And I'm thinking to myself, was saying this to Craig Coughlin earlier, this is such a, not just unique Jersey event, but these 2 days, who wouldn't want to be in here? Who wouldn't want to be with people, sharing ideas, giving folks high fives, celebrating, having a little fun? In my case, dancing like a fool. I'm incredibly honored to be here. Ray, I thank you for your leadership. Bill, I wish you the best. And Mike and Lori and team, thank you for everything you do. God bless you all.